Bum 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 bum. The Peter Dislike Show. Bum 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 bum. One of my biggest goals for this coming year is that I need to be more free in general. There's actually several dimensions of freedom that I'm going to be talking about in this video. I'm going to talk about a number of experiences this past year where I didn't feel so free. I felt like a pawn in the system, and some ways that I could address that. There's several different dimensions of freedom here that I'm going to be talking about. The first thing I want to mention is that I took on a lot more work than I wanted to this year, not because I necessarily needed it. I teach at two different community colleges, and this past semester I signed up for much more work than I wanted because there's so much uncertainty. I had times where in times past contracts were canceled last minute, students dropped out, and all that. Long story short, at the beginning of this semester, I signed three contracts, kind of semi expecting one of them to be dropped. And instead, I got all three of them. And if that wasn't bad enough, as insult to injury, I lost my Savers credit as a result of that too. It was insult to injury. I mean, Saver credit wasn't all that much, but it was insult to injury after being burnt out, right? And unfortunately, my finances are in a little bit better shape. I probably won't be resorting to signing up for more than I want to do in the spring semester. But I have a hard time with backing out of things that I signed up for, not only because I don't want to burn a bridge at the campus, but because you get to know some of the students before you even go to the classroom, right? There's sometimes back and forth. Students want to know if it's okay. They don't have these prereqs and all that. And not to mention, I still want to build good rapport with all of the students, right? And even next semester, I did sign up for a little bit more than I want to do again because some of these students I know already, maybe not in a previous class, but around campus. I'm kind of semi-famous there because we have art shows at the campus, and I'm always involved in that. Okay, onward. When I first landed the job here in Apache Junction, I went apartment shopping, and one potential landlord made me uncomfortable, and I ended up not renting his place. I had found his place through Roomies.com. We had agreed to meet on a Tuesday after work, and I texted him as soon as I got off work, and he texted me back his address. It was a little bit farther than I had expected, but that's okay. I was actually thinking, as I was driving to his place, I was thinking in my mind, hey, Apache Junction is so flat, even though it's 6 miles away or whatever it was, I could maybe ride my bicycle here. I won't have to drive very much. It's true, you don't have to drive very much within Apache Junction. The problem is, good luck trying to live your entire life within Apache, even if you work here, right? There's a lot of activities that you might want to go to that are in Phoenix or at least in Tempe or Mesa, right? But I was thinking, okay, if I move here, at least I could ride my bicycle to work. It's even though it's 6 miles, that might not be the end of the world. Well, I got into my car, and before I knew it, the phone started to ring off the hook. And the owner just got a lot of anxiety for some reason, calling me over and over again. At first, when I didn't answer it, I thought maybe he had an emergency and needed to cancel, and he was considerate enough to let me know before I made it all the way there. So I pulled off the road to see just what all these phone calls are about. I called him back, thinking that he was going to say something along the lines of, there's been a home repair problem, or he had to take his kids to school, or something like. I was expecting something on that magnitude. But he said, "Are you on your way?" I said, "Yeah, I'm driving. I'll be there in a moment." And I put down the phone, and before I got there, he made one more phone call. He did wait a few minutes before that final phone call. But then I got there, and I quickly realized that he was pressuring me to move in. And so I kind of lied to him and said, you know what, my work hasn't really been finalized. I kind of had a trial work day today. I kind of lied to him. And we'll circle back to it. And he the way he responded, he basically didn't want me to go back there. I knew he didn't want to consider me a few more days from now, but I'm glad I backed out of that. And I went back to roomies.com and I quickly realized that he had a small monopoly on that neighborhood. And it gave me a bad vibe. It's one thing for one homeowner to behave like that, but when I came to realize the way he behaved, plus the fact that he owned 5 homes in that area, it gave me a bad vibe that that's what it takes to own 5 homes here in the United States. It's just a bad vibe. I don't like to behave that way, but unfortunately, a lot of times being nice is how I lose things, right? And I lose workplace flexibility because I'm too nice. I lose money or property because I'm too nice. I lose friends because I'm too nice. I lose respect because I'm too nice. I'm not joking when I say that, right? Um, Part of the reason that I don't own a home today, part of the reason at least, is probably because of places where I've become too nice like that, right? It's a slippery slope, right? It adds up. You might not lose a home in a day from being too nice, but you lose a little here, you lose a little before you know it could add up, right? Okay, now I finally make it to my job here in Apache Junction. I teach at a community college. My first day on the job, while I was onboarding, I sat across the table from an HR person. He's a very nice guy. I got to reiterate, he's a nice guy. These are circumstances that I'm Peter disliking, not people. But he was drinking a coffee in a loud, disgusting noise. Now, I think part of the reason that this coffee sound was so annoying to me that day was I was also very sleep deprived. I have a hard time going to sleep the night before important events, right? Actually, it's kind of funny. I got a very good performance review not long ago. I had gotten a perfect 5, actually, on the student evaluations, and I went to talk to my boss. The only thing that was not so beautiful about that review was that I was so sleep deprived when I got there. And I was barely holding it together. I was in the middle of a conversation with my boss. And so I I thought about using that as an opportunity to talk about that, I have some difficulties. But you know what? He was saying so many positive things. He didn't even comment about the fact that I was falling asleep in the meeting. Maybe another time. But, whatever the situation is, it made me realize how unfree I am. I'm having to listen to coffee sounds, not being able to sleep whenever I want. Uh, and all the rest, right? Pigeonholing where I have to. Part of the reason I even live in Apache Junction is that I have an early morning class, and I really despise. I teach at 10 o'clock. I really despise having to wake up at 8 o'clock. I really do, and again, it makes you feel like a pawn in the system when you can't sleep when you want to, you can't wake when you want to, you can't eat when you want to. You have to listen to noises that you don't want to listen to. And none of this has anything to do with my work, right? It's not like I don't like teaching the students. No, I love that. I hate all the things that surround it. The scheduling, the when I can wake and eat and sleep, the having to listen to sounds that I might not like. And there was one other incident. One day I was already very stressed out. And I knew I normally have that office to myself. You guys see, I do anything and everything in that office, right? Sometimes I take naps there. I do my art projects there. I eat there, obviously. I everything, right? Sometimes things that are even a little bit more private than that I do there as well, right? But one day, I was already stressed out, and I forgot. What was I doing that day? But I was excited about when I get to the office. I got 15 minutes before my class. I was so excited about listening to. I'm a big fan of season 1 winner of Polish Idol, second place winner Evelina Falenta. She had just released some music, and I was so excited about going to the office to listen to it. Now, the day before that, I had misplaced my headphones for some reason. And I know the office had really good acoustics. You guys have seen it. You guys know how it sounds like when I shout Peter dislike in there, right? Just try to imagine listening to Evelina Falenta there, right? But when I got there, my office mate, who never shows up, is there. I'm just so upset. Not at him, but the circumstance. But I was so upset that it looked like I was really upset at him. And so, again, it makes you feel like a pawn in the system when that happens, right? Um, I had well, I'm recording this on the day after Veterans Day. Um, as much as I talk about being a pawn in the system, I was very upset because I'm lonely and I Veterans Day was really tough on me, and then we got Thanksgiving and Christmas coming up. I'm hoping before Thanksgiving I'll finally go on a date again, and I won't feel like this. But I could only yesterday I sang a parody of a Christmas song about a very lonely break and the kind of dramas that could unfold. Go listen to that. That was a very sincere feeling about the kind of dramas that I experienced during a 12-day break. But again, having breaks when you don't want them, not having them when you do, um, and okay, let's pivot away from workplace, even outside of work. I had a very severe case of COVID-19 back in July of this year. And around the same time, we had a heat wave here in the Phoenix area, 110, 115 degrees. And I had run out of food at home. I was living in a small apartment. This was in West Phoenix. I'll let you Google map it so you can get a sense of the vibes there. Not exactly the safest part of Phoenix, and it makes there's a reason why I'm bringing this up. So I have barely made it out of the home to go to the grocery store. We got a Fry's grocery store. And thank God they have a really nice self checkout island, so I don't have to come into close contact with anybody there. I'd gotten 6 bananas and some kombucha tea and all that. And there's nowhere to sit down. And had this been in downtown Phoenix or Chandler or here in Apache Junction, we got nice dining rooms here, right? But this is a pretty rundown part of Phoenix, right? If they had something like that, people would be there dealing drugs and God knows what, right? Uh, and so that's why they didn't have somewhere to sit down. So I sit down at this mobility scooter at the front of the store, and before I could have much to eat, you got to remember it's 110 degrees. Otherwise, I'd go back to my car, right? If it were today, I'd go back to my car, right? After all, I don't look all that well. I don't want my students to see me so out of it, right? But it's 110 degrees outside. And before I could dig into my food, security almost wants to kick me out. I saw him come by, and I thought for sure, oh, come on, give me a break. I'm sick, and it's 110 degrees. And he walked toward me, but before he could get to the scooter, he realized how out of it I was and how sick I was. I was sweating, and I was ill. And he waved at me and said, oh, have a good day, and he walked away. And but he still gave me a dirty look. Oh, he probably started with assuming I was up to no good. Maybe I was waiting for my drug customer or whatever, right? Or maybe I was picking up a prostitute waiting for her. He started out walking like he was investigating something like that before he realized how sick I was. And it just goes to show that when you're sick and society treats you like trash, you gotta understand. 2 days before I was sick, and I was teaching at CAC or whatever. No, I wasn't teaching. I was teaching at Phoenix College, and I was making art. That's not how society treated me at that point, right? They were excited about what I was going to teach next. They were excited about what art piece I was going to make next. But as soon as I got COVID-19, they threw me out, right? That's how I felt, right, on a macro scale, right? And it gave me a bad vibe that you could be Elon Musk and you get something wrong and society will probably throw him out too, right? There's probably stories about billionaires who have been thrown out by society over something gone bad, right? I don't know. There has to be. Maybe not a billionaire, but certainly millionaires have been thrown out by society over something, right? Imagine before it was widely accepted, if you were gay, right? You get the idea, right? Galileo was uh, executed for his beliefs, right, at the time. Um, I learned the hard way that you got to be careful going above and beyond at work because it becomes a new norm. And I'm a little bit disheartened that I got a perfect 5.0 review with my students because next time if I get a 4.5, it's gonna set the wrong expectation, and I know why I got that 5.0. It's not a sustainable reason. Go watch my other videos. I think I called it a melt up or a dislikeonomics. Go watch that. The reason I got that 5.0 is not sustainable. Eventually, I'm gonna have to let people know about that. Otherwise, the next time when I get a 4.5, it's not gonna look good, right? Maybe just before the holidays, I'll probably bring up that I gotta tell you guys something. I was hiding out because hopefully before Thanksgiving, I'll finally be dating again, right? And so maybe I'll bring her to the holiday party at work, and while she's away, I'll maybe confess to my colleagues or my boss, hey, there's something I want you guys to know. I was kind of lonely and hiding out, and that's why I got that 5.0. Maybe not those exact words, but you get the idea, right? But again, once again, having these reviews being pigeonholed that way, it makes you feel like a slave, right? Now, what do I want to do to check myself out of this slavery system? Well, number one, and this one I've already been working on, is get my financial house a little bit in order so I don't feel pressured. I want to work for hobby rather than for money, right? I mean, I won't quit my job or anything, but that's one thing. Number two is to get my connections in line too, right? If I don't feel constantly pressured to kiss the right asses, right? Some of this could probably and number three, get my status in check, right? If I had some status in West Phoenix where I was living when I had the COVID, right? I learned after that COVID experience, I learned that when I go shopping at the grocery store, at the shopping mall, to say hello to people even if I don't feel I need to, right? To the security guard, obviously that he doesn't just work there when I have COVID, right? When I'm well, when I'm making art, say hello to him, right? Ask him how his day is going. Hey, wish me luck. I'm about to make an art piece, right? And kind of, every time I do that, I feel like I'm buying insurance or paying the premium for when something goes wrong and I need that help out there, or just somebody to be accepting, right? So today when I go to the office and I see a janitor there, right? Buy some insurance, right? Say hello. Talk about how was your Veterans Day, right? This is the Peter Dislike Show. Bum 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 bum. The Peter Dislike Show. Bum 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 bum.